Hey guys, this is Tom Paul Tipton, your host for the Exchange Podcast. We're coming to you from Living Water Church in Conway, Arkansas. I'd like to welcome you back to another episode and say thank you to those who support this podcast with your contributions. Please like and share us on Facebook and get the word out, and like, subscribe, and share us on YouTube. Send any questions you have and join in on the exchange.
Hey everybody, it's just me today. That's right, JaVaughn Iversen, all alone, solo. Just like the movie you didn't ask for from the Star Wars franchise, it's just me, all alone, nobody with me. No Thomas, no Chandler, just me and God. What's up, buddy? I wanted to come together with you guys and just let you know that this will be a little bit of a shorter episode since it's just me. But I wanted to just set the stage with what do you think about art and the different creatives out there coming up with brand new ideas like Velma Dinkley being a lesbian or Shaggy being black? And by all means, do what you want, but don't get mad when you can't come up with something original, because Black Shaggy makes no sense. And anybody part of any cartoon having sexuality, it doesn't need to be confirmed nor denied. If I'm wrong, please leave a comment. Let me know. But welcome to the Exchange Podcast, and we will be talking about pretty much pop culture and what's happening right now. Many of you guys know that Scooby-Doo has been on the air for quite a while, and I'm really excited to say that Scooby-Doo did kind of shape my idea of being inquisitive, much like my grandfather before me, who was very, very inquisitive about things. Scooby-Doo always had me thinking, okay, what's next? Who did it? Who's the bad guy? Because most of the time in the original episodes, we all remember, it was the nice old granny or the old man who was scaring people because he wanted the oil or the money or whatever. And then later episodes, it got a little more convoluted. I think a couple of episodes, or maybe there was an entire season of they were actually ghosts and not really not people behind masks. But the reason I bring that up is because sometimes beloved characters don't need to have drastic changes to their sexuality or to their race or skin tone or whatever. It makes no sense to me, but I'm gonna say something that I think is gonna probably upset a lot of people. I'm not saying it to upset people. I'm saying it because it's reality. I don't think we are capable anymore of coming up with original ideas. We have so many remakes: Lion King, Mulan, Beauty and the Beast, and those are just three. And out of those three, I think only one of them really did well in terms of the court of the public appeal or whatever. It's just funny to me because Beauty and the Beast, Mulan, they were great animated movies. But then there's The Lion King that was just a smash hit of an animated movie. And at this point, you could tell they're not trying to be creative. They just said, hey, let's try to make more money. And they did. Those movies made a lot of money. But going based off of money isn't really all that cracked up to be, because listen, the sequel movies of Star Wars came out and they were just rehashed and repetitive, nuanced garbage. Made a lot of money here and there, but again, garbage. The one remake within the last 5 years, Top Gun Maverick, that one remake, it wasn't even a remake, it was a sequel. And I guess you could say it was a remake because a lot of the things were reused and recycle materials. And I have to say, I think we as a culture have lost our passion. For instance, Top Gun Maverick was a passion project, and you can tell because at the beginning of the movie, if any of you seen it, Tom Cruise is thanking you, the audience, because without the audience, there are no movies. Sure, Somebody can invest $1 billion into a movie project, but they're not getting their money back if none of us go to that movie to see it. For instance, something that's new but wasn't really thought out was this new movie Bros. Now, for those of you who are listening, if you have kids who listen by some odd reason, Bros came out, and it was just a movie about the stereotypes of homosexual individuals. Just period. Any of those negative stereotypes that people don't want to be said about them, they were put in this movie. What is that supposed to make you think of them? And by them, I mean the LGBT community. TQIAI, I don't know. But what is that supposed to make you think if all you see is stereotypical dumb stuff? Here, and I'll put it this way. If I'm watching a movie and there's a bunch of black stereotypes that are just dumb, and by dumb, I mean really, really, really dumb, and they're done over and over and over, it's not a good movie. It's not creative. Sure, the idea of a movie about homosexual life and interpersonal relationships in that community, sure, that's new. What's not new is just shoving so many stereotypes down the pipe until we're just sitting there looking at this amalgamation of garbage. Now, it's not a movie I would recommend because it was just bad. But I'll give credit where credit is due. It's different. It's new, sure. The only thing that I have a main problem is that when you come up with something, just like me and Thomas came up with the idea of the Exchange podcast, if people criticize you, well, you can't just throw dirt at them. Listen to the criticism. Look at how She-Hulk is. I'm sure you guys have heard of that on Disney+, but the CGI is terrible. The writing is atrocious. Atrocious? Words. It's terrible. But don't take it from me. Go watch it. When people criticize it, what ends up happening is that the creators, the writers, whoever's behind the project, they don't sit there and go, where did I go wrong? Let me see what I'm doing wrong. What's the problem here? No, they don't do that because, well, they'd much rather fight back. Well, you're a misogynist. You're a pig. You're far-right extremist, whatever. Name-calling. They can't hold their own in an argument about what they're doing. So, going all the way back to the Velma and the Shaggy thing, if you don't like it, it's because you're a homophobe against Velma being gay, or you're racist because Shaggy's black. That's not right. There's no passion in that. I've been writing random short stories here and there. I'll send them to my younger brother Titus because we both like Star Wars, and I'll write my own fan fiction. And I send it to my brother and my best friend John, and I'll get some feedback. And sometimes it'll be like, hey, this doesn't really sound right. This doesn't make sense, or this. And I go, oh, hey, you know what? Thanks. I appreciate it. Because you want about 10 people telling you, hey, this doesn't look good. This doesn't look right. And you can't get upset by that. I think the problem is that we, and I say we, anybody under 35, between the ages of, I would say, 20 and 35, we've lost our passion. Well, the majority of us have lost our passion. Because I look forward to criticism. I look forward to the disciplines that come when I make a mistake. You need to be coachable. I'm not going to put out a product that's half done. I need to do it right. That's something that I think of, and I think that's something everybody should think of. And when you look at the culture, something that America was known for the longest time, well, our greatest export was our culture. Our films, our music, our stars. Now, of course, we've idolized them to the point where some of them have a literal God complex. And then when you ever criticize them, they feel like they're emboldened enough to turn around and say, no, you're an idiot, or you're a fool, or you're a mistake. I'm perfect. When it comes to culture, popular culture, pop culture, when it comes to those things, look at the people and look at how they act when criticism is brought up, when jokes are said. Because all joking is lightly telling you this is wrong. We can't even do that anymore. Sometimes you'll watch something, and I'm going to bring up She-Hulk again, but sometimes you watch something like She-Hulk, and the jokes are just so forced. The jokes are just blah, 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 women's oppression and whatnot, and it's like you are literally the strongest woman in your universe, Miss She-Hulk, and you're complaining. You have a job as a lawyer. I don't know. The jokes are forced, and we can't take jokes. We can't take criticism. And that's something we have to get over. And I would say in this episode, most of you who are listening to this, you should challenge that. Start making your own stuff up. There's a kid I know who goes to the gym, and he creates his own workout TikToks. He's a great kid. I'm not going to mention his name because he's still in high school, but I met him. I've seen him around. He's great. He did a bodybuilding competition, got a couple of medals. He's great. And I would challenge him and his friends, one of his buddies. He works on cars and he plays instruments. Do your own thing. Make stuff. Because if I, an idiot myself, can get behind a microphone and make a podcast with a great guy like Thomas, then anybody can come up with their own media, their own content, their own art. Find that passion. If you're good at it, just go for it. Don't wait. Because I'm telling you right now, the people who I grew up with were so entitled. Just like me, I was too. They were so entitled to the idea that something's just going to fall in my lap and it's just going to happen. And something happens for one in every 100,000 people. And you're seeing that in Hollywood. You're seeing that on Broadway. You're seeing that in the media. A lot of people want to talk about politics, and I get that. Politics is downstream from the culture. Why do you think a lot of things are being espoused in certain media outlets? Why do you think certain cultural forks in the road, if you will, hinge on political ideologies? It's because a lot of people in powerful positions realize I can make a lot more money if I'm with one side or the other. There's a good reason why Scooby-Doo is one of the most popular forms of media, one of the most popular animated TV shows of all time. And that's because it was neutral. You could put your own spin on things in your mind, but see, that's where the creative part comes in. When I was a kid, I didn't know that Scooby and Shaggy were high all the time. Didn't need to. But now that I'm older, I can start to realize that, yeah, they were probably doing something illegal. But something I always thought, hey, they were best friends. They always stuck by each other, even when they were scared. Learn something from that. You don't have to blatantly put out there that they're stoners, or that one's black, or one's a lesbian, or whatever. You keep it simple. You keep it neutral. Shoot, Ed, Edd n Eddy from Cartoon Network. Some of you guys may remember this show, but those guys were hustlers, always trying to get a quarter so they can go get a Jawbreaker or a piece of candy. Told me at a young age, hey, if I want something, I probably need to work for it. Hustle. Get after it. Nobody needed to tell me that they were a very capitalistic, entrepreneurial mindset individuals. I didn't need to know the psychology of any of these characters. The art was cool. The stories were funny. And it kept my attention while my parents argued in the background. That was a joke. But still, I think that what needs to happen, and I think what you know what needs to happen, is that we need to encourage people, all people, whether you're in your 40s, 20s, whether you just got to high school, encourage everybody to make their own content, make their own media, make their own passion project. And if 10 people see it or 10 million people see it, make something. And that doesn't mean it's strictly to the arts. You go online right now, and if you don't know how to change a tire, there are tire changing videos with hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of views. And that's all this is just we need to make the culture neutral again. We need to make the culture fun to be around, because sometimes it's just so boring. It's just boring. And that's not okay. It's not okay to just regurgitate same old song and dance. You need to try something new. And guess what? You need to have that fear of crashing and burning. It's okay. Trying to do something safe will more than likely get you run out of town. But hey, there's an entire genre of media that hasn't been touched, hasn't been hurt by any of this political garbage or cultural setbacks. And, that's anime. That's manga. Asian media is knocking it out of the park. And for those of you who don't know, anime isn't for kids. Anime is not for kids. Sure, they can make an anime TV show that is cartoonish in nature, that's goofy and funny and fun to watch. But some of the most lifelong lessons I've learned have come from anime. And I would encourage parents, hey, check out anime. Check out the shows, because some of them, like every other show, may have something that the kids shouldn't watch. So you should probably read up on it, research it, and watch it together. Because you could sit down and read a book with your kids, I'm sure. And I would always encourage you to read Lord of the Rings first, because Lord of the Rings is the best. But let's be honest, you guys are probably going to sit down and watch a TV show. Why not watch something with great storytelling? I'll give you a recommendation, Attack on Titan. Shoot, it's a great show. It's got great life lessons. There are moments where you could sit there and talk to the kids, and instead of them getting out their phone and going to the internet and researching things on them by themselves and potentially getting themselves into very weird corners of the internet, because guess what? The internet is a bad place. Period. Maybe you sit down and you talk with them. What do you think about that episode? Hey, I was thinking about this. What did you catch that? That's something that I want to do with my kids. I think it might actually be really good for parents to do that. So, just to wrap up this portion of the show, I just wanted to say, don't settle for mediocrity. This country should not settle for mediocrity in any way, shape, or form, and that goes double for our media, for our culture that we export. Bollywood is a thing because of Hollywood. Think about that. There is a knockoff Hollywood, which, by the way, Bollywood is making some really cool movies because they're sticking to the classic hero fights the evildoer is vanquished, good guy gets the girl. Tale as old as time. That's just a great way to follow a story. Well, it doesn't have to be a a good guy. I mean, shoot, look at the first Alien movie. The good girl, the heroine. So don't settle for those things. Next thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is, well, midterms are coming up. And even though this isn't my forte, I do want to encourage you guys to go out, register, and vote. Vote for who you think you should vote for. Don't, on this podcast, we are more conservative than others. And just because we say, hey, I like this candidate, doesn't mean you need to vote for that candidate. You need to do your research. I really, truly believe one of the things that's hindering us right now is the fact that there are uninformed voters. And I'm going to call out the voters who say, I'm only voting Republican because they're Republican. Well, guess what? There was a candidate up in the Northeast who ran as a Republican, and guess what? They were part of the Satanist church. They advocated for same-sex marriage, all that type of stuff. They were a liberal at heart. They just registered as a Republican because, well, they knew that a lot of people were just going to vote for R when they saw R. So don't vote R or D for Democrat or I for independent. Do your research on these people. Really do that. Because it is important that if somebody like me goes up and says, hey, you should vote for me because I think that children shouldn't be mutilated in any way, shape, or form, ever. Hey, you may want to do some research on me, because I may say on the side, hey, I know I said ever, but if there's a life-threatening disease or something, we should probably amputate or something, and some people might say, oh, he said ever, and I'm never going to vote for him. Okay, well, hyperbole be hyperbole, but still. Do your research. Figure out what these people really are, and vote with your dollar, because that also goes back to culture. You don't need to vote for who I'm voting for. You need to vote for who you think is the best for you. And most importantly, vote locally. Because federally, one person isn't going to change anything. But if we start changing things at a lower level and start breaking down the established foundation and we make things new, then you'll see new things. But if we let the top continue to play their game up there, and yes, I know that sounds really conspiratorial, but if you let people up at the top continue to play their game of Monopoly, well, the people at the top are the bankers, and if you've ever read the rules of Monopoly, the bank never loses. So we need to start doing different things. Midterms are coming up. You vote for local elections. You vote for your congressman. You vote for your senators. All that jazz. You make sure you do your research. So I hope everybody enjoyed this little segment of the Exchange podcast. Pop culture is important, just as important as going out and voting. So vote with your dollar. Pick and choose what you want to have in your home. Enjoy it as a family. And please be safe out there. We'll be sending prayers to those out in Ukraine and in Russia who are just in the middle of a conflict that I know most of them don't want. I hope that everybody is safe in Europe. I know that gas is getting out of hand out there. And here in the States, pray for each and every one of your fellow United States citizens. Pray for one another, even your enemies, those who would want to do you harm. But here at the Exchange Podcast, we want to thank Living Water Church Conway. We're very thankful for them allowing us to house our studios here. And we want to thank you, the listener, who clicked on this video, who wanted to listen in. We're very thankful. Again, we're on Spreaker, iTunes, Podcast, Spotify. And, it's been a blessing getting a chance to do this. So once again, we're very thankful for all of you. Please be safe out there. Have a great weekend, and happy Halloween.